And welcome to a special edition of Mitch'nandMauck'n about the cards. I'm Mitchell, and live from the Superstition Ranch Cattle Farm and Gentlemen's Cabaret is the mouth of the West, Tyrell Mock. Now, normally on tonight, we give you a short hop, kind of some quick news and
Yeehaw!
thoughts over the weekend, and kind of get you ready for the week. Well, the weekend there wasn't a lot to talk about. A dreadful series against the Yankees. But we have some news that was brought to us from our insider in St. Louis. And Tyrell, it is juicier than cinnamon down at the Superstition Ranch. Let's get right into it tonight.
Cinnamon is fun.
Now, when we get to this topic, we're going to get blown up in the chat and on the messages. There's no way of this happening, but we have on pretty solid ground that this is at least a conversation and no one else is talking about it. Tyrell, I'm going to give the teaser. You give a little bit, and then we're going to back it up with our facts and our information. Are the Cardinals, specifically the DeWitt family, looking to leave the downtown St. Louis area?
From the information of our insider,
Now,
it
the chat's
looks
going to
that
jump up and
way.
say, no, they've been there since the 60s when Bush 2 was built. There's Ballpark Village. Well, over the next 25 minutes or however we chop this up for our other social medias, we're going to tell you why they're looking at leaving. And you can make your own opinion on that based off what the information we give you. But it's looking more and more that if they're not, they're either A, they're going to hold the city of St. Louis hostage for $500 million plus to renovate Busch Stadium, or two, they're looking to build either across the river in Illinois or somewhere in the suburbs like Earth City. Let's go ahead and hit our first topic about this. The infrastructure at the current Busch Stadium. When Busch 3 was built, they used the old infrastructure Busch 2, the piping, the sewage system, etc., and it's falling apart. Tyrell, I know that's kind of your area of expertise. I'm a teacher by trade. I can't speak a ton on it. Kind of talk about the infrastructure problems currently.
So yeah, that is kind of my industry. Wastewater is kind of my job. Yeah, so according to the insider information that the Cardinals contractor builders of Bush 3 reuse the pipes and sewage system and water from Bush 2 into Bush 3 to cut corners and make a little save a little bit of money on the actual thing building of that, which is dangerous in the aspect that St. Louis being a little bit of an older city has clay piping around a lot of that stuff. What the wastewater industry kind of uses now is iron ductile, which holds up longer. Clay vitrified pipe does work well, but at the capacity that they would need around Busch Stadium with Ballpark Village, the surrounding areas needs to be a little bit more upgraded and updated. And that's actually something that is nationwide kind of an issue that's going on. So yeah, the reusing of the pipes, sewage system is actually kind of on both builder and the city planners themselves, because any good city will build out and know that if you're going to build something to this magnitude of 46,000 people can be there at one time, that you would need to do brand new infrastructure for that and upgrade
So
the
the stadium
piping
is only
around
roughly
them.
20 years old, opened in 2006. We'll be celebrating the 20th anniversary of that next summer. But you're telling me the pipes are from the 60s and 70s, and the whole infrastructure, the bones, the things that we as regular fans don't see, is basically completely shot at this point. And what it's going to take to get it up to that code is probably going to be. Do you have a guess, ballpark number wise, on what something like that's going to be?
Oh man, you're probably with today's prices, you're looking at $200 million just around the stadium, and probably the stadium themselves, because you're talking about a major construction, destruction, and have to build back up. So with today's prices, you're probably looking about 150, $200 million just for the stadium itself, not counting the piping around the stadium. And like our insider told us, there's broken pipes around the stadium in the stadium that people are not allowed in because of these stadiums. And if you everybody saw the most recent uh Twitter thing that went viral, that was sewage in the Cubs dugout or going to the at bat. That was not
So when you
water.
look
That was
at, a
sewage.
situation like this where you're looking at spending $200 million plus, and that is just on bones. That's infrastructure. The team there was an article in the Post Dispatch in April of 24 that the Cardinals are potentially looking at asking the state of Missouri, the city of St. Louis, for $400 to $500 million. Now they were quoting the article saying they're not there yet, but now we're a year later, the infrastructure is falling. And where I'm going to go with this, look to the west. If you're following anything with Missouri sports, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals are both flirting with the state of Kansas to move their clubs across the river and into the state of Kansas. The state of Kansas passed legislation called the STAR Plan, where it would allow the state to cover up to 70% of a $500 million project. Not to be outdone here in the great state of Missouri, there is current legislation pending where they would cover up to 50% of a $500 million project. And I don't want to be misquoted here. I want to make sure I've got everything correct in my notes, as well as $50 million in tax credits and then the sales tax on any beer sold at the stadium, the income tax on player salaries. All of that money, instead of going to the state to repair roads, education, would go back to pay down the bill that they've accumulated in a loan from the state, the city, or the county. So there is legislation pending in Jeff City that would allow the DeWitts to get their stuff for practically half off.
And we know Bill DeWitt is a penny pincher, so he's gonna be down for that. And th- you might think that we're like being sensationals here, but our insider also told us that there was earnest money put down across the river in Illinois on the by the Gateway track. So this is a very real possibility that we're not just blowing smoke. And I think it's down 270 near Earth City. There's a pretty big chunk of land that the DeWitts have also put money down on in
Now,
case
it's not the
of
Cardinals
this
that have bought this
not
land, it's the
happening
DeWitt's private
with the
corporation,
city.
which is a private sale, so there is no public
Yes,
record. We
yes,
were trying to
yes.
see if we can get land records, and we'll get that. The big argument that everyone's going to make with us is, well, they just built Ballpark Village. They're not going to do anything with that, etc. My thought is downtown is a nightmare right now. You got businesses closing left and right. My favorite spot, Calico's, closed post-COVID. Downtown St. Louis can't keep a Hooters in business. Hooters closed this summer. All those
Mm.
contracts, all those leases that they have with PBR, etc., can be shifted to a new site. That's nothing. My question is, if they were to build an Earth City, for example, we get build-a-wit land. You got an Arby's everywhere. You got Dewey's Pizza, all these other contracts. They will build and own the parking lots, the structures, everything inside there. We're in downtown. There's some things they don't own. I know years ago they sold the parking garages, but there is a chance that they are at least flirting with the idea of moving to Earth City. Now I understand there's certain things that the MLB's got to do. Any movement has to be done approved by ownership, but I can't see MLB owners. They very seldom go against their own. All sports franchises, nobody ever goes against their own because somebody else is getting a bag. They're going to get a bag down the line too. Especially a 15-minute drive down the road, they're probably going to go ahead and approve that. You look at the Braves when they built Turner Field for the Olympics in '96. Turner Field's in the worst part of Atlanta, and that's saying something when you're in the worst part of Atlanta. Texas just built a new one, so there is
Yes,
precedent
yes,
for
it
this
is.
sort of thing that more and more owners want shiny new toys. My question for you, Tyrell, is what are they going to do with Ballpark Village? Let's say MLB has signed off on it. Now you're going to be in a lawsuit with the city and the county. What do you do with Ballpark Village? What do you do with that big ass stadium in the middle of downtown St. Louis.
You don't do anything with it. You just let it sit because the city doesn't have the money to do anything. Hell, like you said, the city bought the parking garages, but those are falling apart too. I guess curbs are falling apart. I guess falls have increased dramatically, like falling. Like that's crazy. I think you tear it down and go on. I don't think the city will keep all this stuff. There's no need. That, like you said, downtown is failing. It's a dead area, and I'm with you. Calico's was my favorite too. Loved
That's the
me
best
a
part of a day
good
game.
Bloody Mary from there. It was so good, and a steak
You
and a
look
Bloody
at
Mary. Oh
how would
man,
this work? What are the legalities, the logistics on how are they going to make this work? Naturally, the Cardinals are going to say, "Hey, we're leaving." Instantly, you're going to get a lawsuit from the city. 90% of the stadium was privately financed. I think they owe a little bit of money until this thing's paid off. I believe in 2030-ish. Contracts are bought and sold all the time. I mean, I know the DeWitts don't like to cut checks, but something tells me, again, things can be worked out. The big thing they're going to have to worry about is the PR sell on this. How do they sell everybody that, hey, we're going to Earth City?
I think you do that by saying you're going to have DeWitt Land. You're going to have more concerts there. You're going to sell it the way you have to, and I think they can do a good job. And plus, if you know the road's right there, like you can hear road noise in the stadium, so that'll be another thing. Now, I think in my heart of hearts, Cardinals not in downtown St. Louis destroys me because the arch, the that scenery is so beautiful, which is why I really think the Illinois side makes more sense in our city because you still get that beautiful panoramic
It's
of
just flipped.
the arch and the city scrapers. Yeah, yep, just flips, no big deal. Our city though, you're gonna have to do something there to make people want to go to that game. But like you said, it's huge, gigantic. You can bring your you probably do a dome or a retractable roof, so you can have concerts there, rodeos, tractor trailer pulls, just all this stuff that would actually make the DeWitts more money because they're using the stadium all year
Make it an
round,
all-purpose
except for
facility.
81 games a
Realistically,
year.
like you said, with the concerts, things like that, Busch Stadium's used 100 days out of the year with all the kind of extra activities they have there. But with a roofing system, you could probably bid on a bowl game from the NCAA. You could probably bid on some various, college baseball. You can bid on some college soccer, depending on how you do it. You could probably partner with St. Louis City, whose stadium is in the middle of downtown as well. But man, that thing was just dropped in. It's a shoebox. And you could possibly bring them there with you. Yeah, it would kill downtown, but downtown's already dead. The biggest case they can make is there's that favorite word owners love, premium seating. Now they've done a great job. Busch has got seats all over the place that are, all you can eat seats, things like that. But they're not getting a huge revenue from, Freeze's Lawn type seats. The green seats are, of course, the big ones at $500 a pop, $750 for the Cubs. But you can add premium seating from the third baseline to the first baseline, like you see in LA, things like that. The parking complaints, man, we talk about all the time. Downtown, after a night game, it's not the safest place. That's an easy one.
Mm-mm. And that Yeah, and that's something I think is crazy that they've been pulling out that downtown's not safe to be at. Well, you build a giant friggin' bar right next there, so of course it's not safe. You got a bunch of drunk idiots all the time around there, and I'm a drunk idiot. I understand. It's not the safest place. Like, what did you expect was going to happen? You ran all the mom and pops out, and you have this giant bar full of a bunch of drunk idiots all the time. It's going to happen. It's
And then, the
societal
the big thing is
norms.
they're revitalizing another area of St. Louis County in Earth City. They're gonna have to approach the city as leadership. Hey, we'll move here. We won't go across the river. And I think it's gonna end up in Earth City. That's just my opinion. Illinois doesn't have the tax breaks that Missouri does, at least not yet. And so it's gonna have to be, hey, we're just gonna go down the road, public partner private relationship kind of built here. The infrastructures, the roads, tax incentives. Basically, we'll build the stadium with our dime, but you fund everything else, knowing their dime is again half off, courtesy of the taxpayers in Missouri. Tourism, redevelopment, stuff like that, the financing, the tax breaks, all that stuff just seems right up DeWitt's pocket. He gets a shiny new toy for half off.
Yeah, you can build a brand new stadium for what they built or what the revenue or renovations they want to do on Bush is. Because it's gonna with today's
Easily.
prices, new stadium's gonna be a bill.
Oh,
Like
Atlanta
it's
did
just gonna
Truist
be a
Park for
billion.
680, and that was kind of on the
So you
low
get that for
end.
500.
Texas was 1.1 billion. And of course, new Yankee Stadium was 3 billion because it's in New York. So estimate, let's call it a billion.
Yeah.
Half off of that,
Well,
it was still 500.
a billion. And now that also what helps you is you've got this new stadium that's worth a billion. That adds to how much the Cardinals are worth. And I've been assuming for a little while that the DeWitts are going to try to sell here pretty soon. And if you get this in the works, it makes total
If you're
sense for
looking
them
in the
to
future in
sell the team at that
2030,
point.
this is when I think all this is going to happen. 5 years from now, I think the process is starting now behind the scenes. But 5 years from now, you have a shiny new park. You have a new CBA. And I don't think that the Wits are going to spend a dime on the ball club on the field until the new CBA is signed in 27. And we'll talk about that in our later show, maybe Thursday night. So that is kind of where we're at with it. Those are the facts. These are, some of this is opinion based, but our insider says there's talks in offices, there's land being purchased, there's conversations with people who make way more money than we do. What do you think, Tyrell? Bottom line, 2030 opening day. Are we downtown? Are we across the river? Are we in Earth City? Or are we in Wentzville? Let's just go crazy. Let's go an hour and a half down the road to Wentzville.
Let's go
That's
to
an area that's
Wentzville.
blown up. Since you've been gone,
No,
Wentzville is huge now.
really blowing up. Yes. Yeah, it's a massive place. In that I think you're probably right with your city. I would love to stay close to downtown to have the arch, but you can make a beautiful scenery and see things. So I think Earth City makes the most sense because it's the model that they want to do. In 2030, the Cardinals will be competing again. Your young nucleus will start to be those superstars again. You've got a new stadium. You've got momentum. I think Earth City's where it's go. What I didn't kind of mention in them owning all of the parking lots, everything is exactly what the Cronkies and Waltons do with Walmart. Walmart buys the land for the Walmart, and then Cronky comes in and buys everything around there, and they own both, and they lease everything out, so they make money hand over fist. So I can see this be right up DeWitt's alley and that's what the ballpark village was to make money for them, for the ball club. And you could make way more money if you own all the land around you. So I think you make your club that we said earlier in the podcast, 3.5, you make that worth $5 billion.
Have you ever seen the movie The Founder?
Okay, now we sell.
It was about the founding of McDonald's. It was the Ray Kroc story.
Oh, yes.
He
I saw
set
that.
up franchises on McDonald's left and right over the country and could barely afford to set up another one until one of his business partners said, "You're in the wrong business. You think you're in the burger business. You're in the land business." Because the trick was to buy the land and then lease the land to all these people. The DeWitts, I think, are a real estate company through and through, or this organization has become a real estate company, and the Cardinals are just the house band. And so, as you know, they're not making any more land anywhere. So by buying up all the land, you control every single thing that happens on that land. And so when you look at the bottom line price,
100%.
$500 million is what they're potentially going to ask for infrastructure repairs and to increase the fan experience, whatever that looks like. My increased fan experience would be to put fucking Juan Soto in right field. That's my fan experience increase if you want to spend the money. But instead, we're going to get more upgraded seating, better buffet choices in the premium spots that they have. That's just my opinion. I think for the price that they're asking for, and especially if this law passes in Missouri, where they can get up to 50% funded by the state for tourism purposes, I think you just jump on a new stadium. And I think that new stadium ultimately is in Earth City.
As a businessman, that's the smartest deal.
You're going to give me
to be
whatever I want for
honest.
half off, and I get a $50 million tax credit too to do it. I mean, that's just like I said, it's business. Like, yeah,
Where
I
do
mean,
I
we'll
sign?
get a wrecking ball out there on Bush 3 as soon as this season's over. I mean, we'll play in AutoZone Park in Memphis, or what is that place called in O'Fallon? Ozzie Smith Field, or wherever the Little League Park is out there. Maybe we need some home runs
Yeah.
finally instead of some guy
Yeah.
hitting 14 to lead the
Yep.
club in August. So go ahead in the chat. Are we crazy? Is this really happening? Would the Cardinals consider leaving downtown St. Louis? Curious to see what the opinion of our followers are. For Tyrell Mock, I am Mitchell Jenkins. This has been a Mitch'nandMauck'n About the Cards special edition. We'll see you with a regular show Thursday night. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube, as well as our TikTok channel. Have a great night.